morning, everyone. Good morning. On behalf of my team, my erstwhile and early rising team, thank you very much for hosting us today. I've read about Flanders moss for, well, a long time. I've never actually been here. One of our team lives 2 miles down the road, so he's an old lag when it comes to Flanders moss. Well, he's not an old lag, actually, he's a fine bloke, but he's a regular visitor. The purpose of our visit is, of course, it's part of our UK Bioblitz. We're going out from Scotland through England, Northern Ireland, down into Wales, finishing in the south. Our aim, very briefly, is to put our finger on the pulse of the UK's countryside. We all are armed with many, statistics which outline that many of our habitats are in critical or calamitous decline, and the species that live there. But what does it actually mean? And that's what we hope to capture whilst we're filming here, to show that some parts of our landscape are in a parlous state. Others, of course, are being very well looked after. And to accompany those hideous figures of decline, we have an arsenal of abilities to make a difference. So we're keen to meet the people who are making the difference, and to see what tools that they're using to do that, so that we can expand them and make it work more broadly. That's our overall ambition. Our secondary ambition is to meet many of you who are the great British naturalists. I think that we have a set of professionals and amateurs in the country which have no other global rival. So when we speak of these declines, the accuracy of the data that we're generating is unrivaled. Whether it's butterfly conservation, BTO, or any of the other recording methods that we've got, we know that we can speak with great authority about this. And so we're keen to meet these people and celebrate their skills. And then, of course, it's about our young people. We're very keen to get as many of those to come and join in as possible, to meet people such as yourself, to get inspired, to fuel their curiosity, to hopefully develop a lifelong interest, which will see them filling our boots at some stage in the future. Well, they come with their own very smart red boots this morning. But we certainly got a culture, a new generation of these great British naturalists. Otherwise, we're in great trouble. So that's our principal purpose. Okay, thank you. Okay. Over to you. Over to you. So you've been bug vacking.
Yeah, that's right. So Flanders moss is known for a really rare species of spider, the Bog Sun Jumper.
Oh yes, and the Bog Sun Jumper.
The Bog Sun Jumper.
I'm loving the name.
It's a brilliant name, and it says it all as well.
Does it do all of those things? It's obviously in a bog, and when it's sunny, does it jump?
It does, yeah. So this isn't a great day for finding them.
Right.
So they live in the Molinia tussocks.
Oh yes.
They hunt out on the sphagnum when it's a sunny day, which isn't today.
Right.
But this is Heliophanes dampfly, the Bog Sun Jumper. So it's only known from 7 sites in the UK.
Wow.
6 of them are around here.
7 sites?
Yep.
It's a very small animal. So are all of the other sites in the north are up here, are they?
6 of the sites are all within miles of here.
Oh, are they?
One of them is in Wales.
Oh, wow. Okay, they're probably under-recorded at other sites, I would imagine?
So they were only known from 3 sites a few years ago, 2 in Scotland, 1 in Wales. And I went looking for them and found them at several other sites.
Oh, did you?
A couple of other people.
Yeah.
But we've not found them beyond the sort of Stirling Carse area though. So
right.
We have looked, but not found.
And arachnid's your thing?
Definitely, yeah. So I'm a member of the British Arachnological Society, and I'm the local spider recorder.
Oh, excellent. In fact, this spider is, when you look at it, it's got a lovely yellow underside, hasn't it, really? So, and its face is marvellous. Is that yellow chelicerae that it's got there?
It's almost fluorescent green palps.
Is it?
The pedipalps.
Oh, they're the pedipalps,
yeah.
Are they? Okay, yeah. They are, you're right. Yeah, I can see that now. I've got to get some new glasses. In fact, I could do with some new eyes.
It's a very small spider.
Well, it's a small spider, and I'm 57, but it is quite an attractive animal, isn't it, actually? Yeah.
Yeah, and if you get it on a sunny day, it's sort of iridescent. It's really beautiful.
Really? Superb. The Bog Sun Jumper. Well, do you know what I had to say? That's made my day already. The Bog Sun Jumper. Thank you very much indeed. Not only a rarity, but an attractive spider with an interesting habit.
So here we are, we're at Loch Winnock, RSPB Reserve, day 2, site 2.
You caught me off my guard there.
Did I?
Yeah, I hadn't even thought about starting, but we better start starting, hadn't we, to be quite honest with you.
Going.
Yeah. Now listen, aside from being on a very wet roadside and looking like a duck, a rubber duck,
Quite like it.
Yeah, what are we looking for here?
Well, I'm hoping to see a few ducks, to be honest. A nice tufted duck would be nice. It's a great wetland centre.
Is it?
So we'll be able to see some incredible kind of wetland species. I'm looking forward. We look like ducks, so The more ducks, the better here, I think.
Okay, let's duck off then. Hello, Mark. Hello, Vanessa. Sorry to interrupt your Sunday morning bird watching, but we've come along on our Bioblitz. Lots of visitors over time would have put together a species list. That's what we're looking for. So the number of different species living in this one place at a given time. A measure of its species richness, which tells us a bit about the community health, if you like, the health of this area. So that's one of the ways that we're able to put our finger on the pulse of the countryside here. Obviously, we're keen to meet those experts and celebrate their skills. It's really important that in the UK we have an enormous number of highly qualified people. We're looking at grassroots conservation as well, people who are getting up and doing things for themselves. And I know obviously that here at Loch Winnock there'll be plenty of volunteers without whom the reserve couldn't function. So great staff, obviously great support, but nevertheless we know that conservation in the UK survives on its volunteers.
I love volunteering at Loch Winnock. It's a fantastic reserve. I think it's a really good way to meet a really diverse range of people, and I've learnt so much from the other volunteers here. There's people with incredible bird knowledge. They'll see a speck in the distance. Oh, that's a hen harrier. And how do you know that? You learn those kind of skills and knowledge from other people.
And given that there's none of the RSPB staff actually here at the moment, you can tell me honestly about how much work the volunteers do, because it's really important.
We do an awful lot of work.
More than them.
We do a lot of hours in.
I mean, to be quite honest with you, the RSPB and Loch Winnock couldn't survive without you, could they?
No, they do depend on us.
And the clear message is therefore that we need more volunteers.
We need and younger volunteers.
Younger,
that's what we need.
Is there an age limit? Is it they have to be over 16? Are there insurance and health and safety constraints?
We have forms to fill in and all the rest of it, but we have volunteers ranging from 11 or 12.
Oh, so you can do it younger?
Right up until 18.
Right.
So we try and get them as early as possible and get them enthused, and we've got a fantastic group here. I think one of the longest running young volunteer groups in the country.
If you had one message to try and get more people to come and volunteer, what would it be?
Have enthusiasm and just enjoy it. Get a buzz. You feel you've done any day, you've done something great. That's really important.
So look, you've heard what John says. If you've got enthusiasm and you've got any passion for wildlife, you can come to places like this and you can make a difference, because despite the enormous effort of the RSPB staff, conservation can't survive without volunteers.
It's a great way to meet people. It's very social. You meet all the visitors coming in, you get to chat to all kinds of different people, you get a discount in the shop. What's not to love?
So Dan, tell me a little bit about the reconstructions of the wetland then, just behind us, because that was quite a big project for you, wasn't it?
It was, yes. It was about 4 or 5 years ago now. We had a big expanse of sort of botanically rich meadow out there, but there was no water coming in there, so we couldn't bring the birds close to where the visitor centre was. So we dug some channels and we extended the pool out there, and that's been really successful in bringing waders and wildfowl in closer to people.
What are the key species that are really around the visitor centre that people are getting really engaged with, that they wouldn't have seen before?
Well, this reserve really comes into its own over the winter, I think. We're a really good place to see wintering wildfowl. So we get over 100 whooper swans some years. They're big, visible, beautiful birds, so they're great to see. Lots of winter wildfowl, goldeneye, we get smews sometimes, and they're really eye-catching species that people love to see and talk about.
And how are they benefiting from this reconstruction project?
Obviously it's providing them a habitat and a refuge they can use over the winter when they come to the UK. And I think lots of places like that are actually disappearing. Wetlands are being drained, there's lots of disturbance, and we can provide somewhere on our lochs where they can feed and they can rest and they can pass the winter in peace.
Oh, that's really, really great. Great to hear. And we were just in the visitor centre a minute ago, and there's mallards walking around by the windows.
Exactly, yeah.
I mean, they're essentially inside, so it's great. Kids can really get down and see all the details of everything.
They do actually come inside the visitor centre
They
sometimes
do?
as well, yeah, especially the ducklings.
But that's quite
People
an
love
event.
it, yeah.
What is it the kids really engage with the most? Do you have a kids project or a programme, a volunteer programme or anything?
We do. We have young volunteering group, so they come in, it's under 18, under 16 volunteers. They come and do some work for us actually, so that's really useful. Having kids getting up close with nature, having it in their hand, really connects with them, and you can see them having that. It's great when you see them having such a good time and that moment of connection, which a lot of kids don't get these days.
It's that pure enthusiasm, isn't it? And you get them out of the house and you show them something interesting they would never see before, and it's
exactly. It's almost like
amazing.
magic to them, really, because you imagine a child from inner city Glasgow that don't get to see somewhere like this all that often. So you put a butterfly in their hand, it's just amazing.
Okay, so what we've got here on this whiteboard, very flatteringly, is Chris Packham's UK Bioblitz, and these are the species that have been spotted by the volunteers, the staff, and of course all of the visitors here today. Some quite good things. We've got some new moth species, never been seen on the reserve before, so that's a thumbs up in terms of our Bioblitz. We've added our own mollusk over there, and very modestly our chrysid wasp. What else have we got? Butterflies, green vote. Well, it's not the best day for butterflies. Unfortunately, it's raining today. I'm sure we get more of those typically. Good to see the amphibians. Bullfinches over here, which is good. Siskins, always nice to see. Swifts have turned up. At least a few swifts up here this year, not many where I am. So it's a good list that's continuing to build. And look at this. This is quite good as well. We've got sneezewort. Sneezewort. Can't have a list without any sneezewort on it. Excellent stuff. Artists in residence, you know, when we talk about natural history, often we're preoccupied by its ecological value, but we mustn't underestimate its cultural value, and we see that often through music and art, hence you coming along and doing some stuff.
I think it's a great sort of explosion, isn't there, in interest in natural history, and it's had that knock-on effect through people want to express their desire to protect the environment and work with wildlife through their art. And I think it's just a great time to be a wildlife artist. Actually, it's because you feel that people are looking at different layers. You can use it as a decorative art, I'm sure, but you've seen my work in the past, and I've tried to weave some sort of conservation narrative through it. But in the end, we're just sort of celebrating the natural world, and it's been great fun to sort of come along with the Bioblitz.
And what about today? Have you done something today?
Yeah, this was this morning at Flanders moss, and you get these lovely blooms of cotton grass there. They're just over their peak. I've painted at Flanders moss many times. It's only 2 miles from where I live. It's just a wonderfully rich site.
That really captures the feel of Flanders moss on a wet morning. Thanks, Darren.
Okay, thanks.
Very much.
The specialities I've read are a group of hymenopterans, so we're talking about bees and wasps, which are sand-loving species, basically.
That's true. Over the past 10 years, we've amassed a list of bees and wasps, particularly from the Ardea Peninsula, which is the dune system that kind of abuts this one. Over 100 species of bees and wasps, which is the largest list in Scotland. So it's a great site for bees and wasps. Massively threatened by all kinds of developments, and this is one of the reasons we record bees and wasps and other creatures so intensively is to try and protect against development of the site. The more evidence we have, it's an important site. Hopefully the more chance that we have, it's not going to be developed. But we do. Here is something that I collected in the sunshine yesterday. Very hard to see. This is a northern Calites mining bee.
And hold on, a northern Calites mining bee.
Yeah, it's a speciality of sand dune systems in the north and west of Britain.
Right.
And this one here, if you can see it, it's a very funky looking one. It's Epiolus cruciger. This one parasitizes the nests of northern Calites. So I found both of them flying around the same sandbank yesterday on the reserve. There is some discussion at the moment down south that Epiolus cruciger is actually 2 species, 2 cryptic species.
Right.
One which attacks a heathland Calites and one which attacks a sand dune Calites.
Right.
So we've collected samples of Epiolus from each type of habitat, and we've sent them off for genetic analysis in Germany, and this month there should be some DNA barcoding done to tell us if this is actually 2 species or not. I can't judge it, I have no intuition, but I hope certainly it is a different species.
Yeah, well, in which case you get 2 rare species of bee rather than 1, which doubles your hand when it comes to protecting the area. I mean, you know, now a lot of people, you know, are excited by Scottish wildlife, and they normally think of golden eagles, wildcats, pine martens. I could go on. This is, you know, from my point of view, every bit as important. These little guys here. It's all part of having a broad, functional ecosystem, isn't it?
Sure.
They're a difficult place to look after, sand dunes.
Oh, definitely. I think one of the reasons the dunes are eroding so much here is constant trampling. So at the moment we've got a couple of grants in for building some new dunes. We've got 5,000 in total to build some new dunes in the reserve. So that the fencing project is designed not just to trap sand to build dunes, but to kind of keep people off the most sensitive areas.
Okay. And the project that you've got at the moment, you're facilitating with £5,000, yeah?
5,000. It's going to be match funded actually by a RSPB affiliated project called Garnet Connections, and they're topping up, I think, to about 11,000 odds.
£11,000.
Yeah, so that'd be a good big project.
Do you know what? In conservation terms, that's not a lot of money, is it? It's not a lot of money at all. And I'd really like to say at this point, you know, we're fundraising, we're crowdfunding for this initiative, and this is just the sort of project that we would like to support. You know, it's difficult to raise small sums of money for projects which can sometimes, forgive me, be seen as relatively obscure, certainly not big and glamorous. So if you can give anything to our crowdfunding campaign, it would be absolutely fantastic, because I'm sure Ian will be glad to receive some of your funding, and so would these remarkable little insects that he's put back into his pocket to release on a sunnier day.